The Baggies Podcast, giving you the latest news, views and opinions on all things Albion. Hello and welcome back to the Baggies Podcast, where of course we're giving you all the latest news, views and opinions on all things Albion. Today it's episode 51 of the Baggies Podcast, and we're taking a look back at last night's Championship curtain raiser against Bournemouth. I'll be taking you through my thoughts and analysis on the game, whilst also giving your thoughts, as you guys have been flooding in, I'll say, with your comments on Twitter about the game and your thoughts on the fixture overall. We're going to be giving your thoughts as you've been getting involved on our Twitter feed, and also we've got a special guest coming on from a Bournemouth YouTube channel, Cherries Red Army, who is going to be giving us an opposition reaction to the match last night. But before we start, if you're new around here, be sure to subscribe to the Baggies Podcast, whether you be listening on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. It really does help. And if you're listening on a platform that allows you to review the podcast, be sure to do so. It does mean a lot and shows that we're starting to find some new listeners. So if you're on Apple Podcasts, I think it is, that lets you do the reviewing, make sure to give us a nice review, say a nice few words about us. You don't even have to say a nice few words, just click however many stars you think you should give us, and that's how you do it. But anyway, if you're new around here, be sure to subscribe and hope you enjoy the episode. But let's get straight into my thoughts on Albion 2, Bournemouth 2. So my thoughts on the clash, really. We'll go straight into my thoughts, then we'll get the thoughts of Cherries Red Army over on the Bournemouth channel, and then we'll be giving your thoughts from the Twitter page as you guys have been getting involved. So my thoughts, really, I'll go through the lineup and give my thoughts on each player and how they played, but overall it was an enthralling Championship clash, in my opinion. Very open, and it was a real reminder to Albion fans of what Championship action is really like. I mean, it's typical Championship, end to end, lots of chances, lots of poor defending, lots of competitive tackles, lots of very, very big 50-50s won by both sides. So there was lots of it in there, lots of tactical fouls, of course, and just a lot of entertainment, really. It just reminded me how good the Championship really is and how much I tend to enjoy it. I think it was very good from a Championship perspective, and if you're a neutral, I bet you really enjoyed that one. Us as fans, Bournemouth fans, Albion fans, I don't think we'll have enjoyed that as much as the neutrals, as we were definitely on the edge of our seats for most games, as you just didn't know who was going to score next, to be honest. It was completely open, that game, and Valérien Ismaël's style is being implemented pretty well, and there is a real bite about us. I think there's a real competitiveness about us, a real hunger and desire to get first to each ball and get first into the tackle, to be the people, to be the player who's going to get to the ball first. I think there's a real hunger and desire, and there's a real press, which I'll talk about a bit more in a little bit, but I think there's a real hunger and desire from Valérien Ismaël's side to swarm the opposition and to get the ball back and win it back, and it's very intense. That's all I'm saying. It is very, very intense. I think the players are going to have to be really, really fit this season to hopefully not sustain many injuries from playing in that sort of play style. Obviously, it does look pretty tiring to play in that sort of style and that basis. So I think we'll talk through the lineup, and I'll give my thoughts on each player as we go. Hopefully, there's some nice thing to say about players. There's also a bit of criticism, because obviously it wasn't perfect. 2-2 against Bournemouth, 2 goals conceded, but also 2 goals scored. So I suppose it's not all bad. But I'll start off by talking through the lineup. So in terms of what we expected, I think it was relatively what we expected, bar one change, which we'll talk about in a second. So David Button was in goal, and I thought, obviously, Bournemouth scored twice, and I think both of those goals could have been prevented by David Button. I think maybe the first one, it's from close range. You'd expect David Brooks. I think, was it David Brooks? No, Marcondes to score from that sort of range. I think you would expect him to score from there. But the second one, with David Button coming out and parrying the ball straight into Philip Billing on the edge of the box, I think was pretty poor. I thought he could have done a lot better with that. And yeah, I think that was just my criticism of David Button. He didn't look particularly comfortable. I think they had three chances in the match. I think he saved 1 and conceded 2. So obviously that's not fantastic from David Button. I think that we need to look at the defence firstly. I think that obviously it's not completely David Button's fault, but I do think there was a bit of poor keeping, especially for that second one, to push it back into the danger area. I can just see Sam Johnston, if he had that opportunity to push that ball away, he'd have punched it and it'd have probably gone in the stand, which I think is fine. But anywhere you wanted to punch that, apart from inside the 18-yard box and to the edge of the box to Billing, who eventually had a free corner to aim at because of the position of the goalkeeper. But in terms of the back three, we had Dara O'Shea, who started. We also had Carl Bartley, and we also had Cedric Kipre. Kipre was a bit of a surprise inclusion. Obviously, we've learnt that Matt Clark was unfortunately injured in the warm-up, but that was obviously something that we thought about, and something that Ismail had planned for, planned for an injury in the back line, because he brought Kipre in and decided to leave Shemi Ajayi on the bench. Now, if you're asking me and you're asking for my opinion on it, I wouldn't bring Kipre into this game. I think this is a game where obviously it was essentially decided by mistakes and high pressures on the back line. Obviously, if you look at where how both teams broke in the game and how they got forward on the counter attack, I think it puts a lot of pressure on the back line. And to have a debutant for West Brom, really, Cedric Kipre in the Championship, a first Championship appearance for Cedric Kipre, I think is quite difficult for him. I think you needed to go with a bit of experience, and I think Ajayi would have been that. I don't know why he perhaps doesn't fancy Ajayi. Maybe it's just something that maybe it's just he just doesn't fancy him in that respect. But I think when you're playing a high line, I think you do need a bit of pace. And there were times where we did get caught on the turnover of the ball, where the ball gets looped in behind, and I think we struggled really to try and contain that ball over the top a couple of times. And I think it was due to the lack of pace at the back, and I think Ajayi could have helped with that. In terms of Cedric Kipre, he did make a bit of a mistake for the first one, a bit of a hash of things. Obviously made a tackle which sent the ball further towards our goal than it did the other way. I thought Kipre looked a bit shaky when the ball wasn't straight at him. I think when the ball was looped and he could read the flight of it quite well, it was coming straight onto his head. I think he looked quite comfortable. However, when the ball was being played to the side, in behind of him, I think that's when it looked a bit worrying for Cedric Kipre. But I think he just needs more games. I think if he's going to play this season, or if he's going to be involved this season, I think he just needs a few more games. Obviously, playing in the Championship is not easy at all. Obviously, he's played in the FA Cup, Carabao Cup, and all that. So I think that Kipre, he did look a bit uncomfortable at times. He did ease into the game as it got further on, but I do think he needs more experience. And I think to throw him into that particular game, I think was a bit harsh on Cedric Kipre. I wouldn't have done that myself. Carl Bartley, just your classic head kick defend performance, I think, from Kyle. I think obviously got involved in a tangle with Philip Billing, which I don't think never really finished because of the referee deciding not to penalise either of them throughout the game for that particular skirmish. However, I do think that Bartley, he's got to sit in the middle of that back three, because I think he does provide organisation, and he does provide a lot of talking to the back line. Dara O'Shea, I think at the left centre back position, played really, really well. Obviously, he scored his goal, but I think he was superb on the ball as well. Very controlled, very calm on the ball as well. I think he looked very good last night, and I think he looked particularly at home in that back three. I think he looked really good. I think if you're to ask me what the change I'd make, I suppose I may bring in Matt Clark, but I do like Matt Clark, and I do think he's going to be a very good asset to us this season. But I'd be inclined to bring in Ajayi in for Kipre first, but I do like Matt Clark, and I think it's a very good conundrum for Ismail to have. But I thought O'Shea was fantastic last night. I thought most duels won in the match with 14 as well. I think he was very, very comfortable, very, very sound in the defence, and I thought he worked very hard. And obviously got his goal, got the first goal for Albion of the game, a header put in a nice cross by Connor Townsend, which we'll lead on to now since he's here. I think Townsend's crossing was very good. Townsend's overlapping play. I think the system does leave the fullbacks quite exposed, but I do think we got the right two wing backs, I suppose, in the side. I think they're both fantastic. Connor Townsend caused a bit of a problem when David Brooks had a chance late on in the game. I think that was something that concerned me a little bit. I think obviously it caused a problem for Connor Townsend. The ball came over the top of him, and he got really caught out by the flight of the ball and let David Brooks have a shot on goal. But I think the cross from Connor Townsend was just waiting to be attacked by Dara O'Shea, and it was a lovely cross. We'll just go across the centre midfield positions now, I think. Alex Mowat, my man of the match today. Phenomenal, I thought. I thought he was brilliant. A great ball across to Jake Livermore to open this, to get the second, not to Jake Livermore, to Callum Robinson for that second goal. I thought, he just looked calm on the ball. He looked like he's got that engine. The only fault I'm going to have, and the only I think Dara O'Shea would probably be my man of the match, but I think Alex Mowat's a close second. I think in terms of the goal for Philip Billing for Bournemouth, I think Alex Mount could have done a bit better. If you look at the replays and you look over to the edge of the box, you see Alex Mount's actually on his toes, and he's caught on his heels against Philip Billing, trying to mark him, and he doesn't quite catch up with him in time, and it does cause a bit of a problem. And he obviously tried to mark him, and he lost his man. So I think he's slightly to blame for that particular goal, but only as far as marking his man. But I think most players would expect Button to chuck that ball into the stand, or to put it behind for a corner, or put it anywhere but the box. So I can kind of understand that, but he was caught on his heels marking his man. Livermore, I think, played well as well. I think he was. Actually, I'll talk a bit more about Alex Mount. I think I've undersold him a bit there. He was very good when he got the ball, and obviously played that lovely ball across to Callum Robinson. Very progressive as a midfielder. I think he tried to bring us forward as many times as he could, and I think he did a good job in the game. And obviously, if that's a free transfer, I think that's an incredible bit of business. Jake Livermore showed a very good engine in the midfield. I think he put himself about. I just think that the midfield too, I think you're going to need more depth in there, because I think both of those are suspensions waiting to happen, to be honest. Both yellow carded last night, and I can just see them getting booked most games, to be honest. So I think it's best if we have some cover in that midfield position. Obviously, there wasn't very much of it on the bench. We only started with 6 substitutes out of the 7 that we were allowed, and 2 of them were academy players who are fairly inexperienced in the first team. Sam Johnston was on the bench, but obviously only returning from holiday or England duty, if you like, on Monday. So I can understand why he wasn't playing. But I think for the games in future, I think he's going to have to play. I think he's going to have to be the number one for as long as he is at the club. Darnell Furlong was all right. I think he put himself about well, first to the ball. I think he was very competitive in his position at right wing back, so I'm not too fussed about Darnell Furlong. Dean Garner at right wing, I think he worked hard, and I think he wanted to get on the ball, but Bournemouth did a very good job of getting 3 men on him, 2 or 3 men on him each time he got the ball. I think they recognised that he was the danger man, but obviously he did look confident, and he did look like he wanted to run at people, but I just don't think he was given the time of day by the Bournemouth defenders, which is a worrying sign. But I think that should create more space elsewhere. But I think the pitch was very condensed by both teams. I think both teams really sliced the size of the pitch down. Karlan Grant, I thought, was okay. I thought he did make a few good jerks on the left hand side, getting infield and getting a shot away. I thought he did well in that respect. But in terms of creative force, maybe lacking a little bit, Karlan Grant, but I think it's just a case of gelling into this system. It is a very difficult system to play. I think it is working. I think it's just when we win the ball back high up the pitch, what do? We get this. We're swarming these teams, and we swarmed Bournemouth last night, and we got round them and won the ball. But once we got the ball, what do we do with it? We've won the ball back high up the pitch. We're inside their third. Now what do? I think that's when it worries me, because we don't look like we have too many ideas, and we end up overplaying, or in some cases underplaying, and we end up losing possession, and we end up probably giving away a goal kick. So I think that's just where the ideas need to come. Callum Robinson obviously got the goal. I think he's worked very hard up front tonight, obviously rotating with Grant occasionally, but I think he looked very good. Callum Robinson, I think I wouldn't take him out this side at all. I think he looked very good. I think we do need a striker. Obviously, Kenneth Sahor came on late on in the game, but he only had about 3 minutes to play. Matt Phillips also came on as well. I think he looked very sharp, I think he looked particularly quick, in my opinion, for Matt Phillips. Sharp, very fit as well. I think Matt Phillips looked very good. Obviously, played the ball through to Mauer, which allowed him to pass it across to Callum Robinson. So I thought he did really well in that respect. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to seeing him get back to the old Matt Phillips that we saw perhaps under Tony Pulis in those 2016-17 seasons, where he looked really good. But in terms of a team performance, I thought we played really well. I thought in terms of dominating the ball, we didn't dominate the ball, but we did get up the pitch very progressively, and we did really batter the opposition in terms of challenges, physicality, everything in that respect. I thought we were all over them. So we won them. We won 65 duels in the game compared to Bournemouth's 46. But I think, tackles attempted 18, tackles succeeded 9, aerial duels won 34, Bournemouth 19. So I think we were really, really physical and really, really in the game in terms of that. So I think that's a very big positive. I think we looked very intense and physical play style. But I think The question about that is, can we keep it up? Can we keep it up throughout the game? Can we keep it up throughout the season? I think that's going to be difficult. I think that's going to be a real challenge. I think definitely it's going to be a challenge to keep that up for the 46 games. There's going to have to be games where you turn it on and off at times. You can't be playing games at that intensity throughout the season all the way through unless you're super fit. And you consider the fitness levels of the side when Bilic was in. It's going to, and you consider that, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of that side were promoted under Slaven Bilic. I think it's going to be very difficult to switch from really low fitness to the highest fitness in the league. I think that's going to be difficult, but I'm pleased with the performance. I thought we were the better side to Bournemouth. I thought Bournemouth did have slightly better chances. I think the third chance was probably a golden opportunity for David Brooks and a very good save from Button, but I thought that we played very well. I thought we were very competitive, and I like the way that we're playing. I think it's just the missing piece in the puzzle is that striker. I think when we're playing quite forceful football, I don't think the big target man is essentially what we need. I do think we need a big target man, and I think Kenneth Saul is probably going to have to be that man. Only as a differential, though, I think Dwight Gale would absolutely thrive in this system. I know it's classic, it's Dwight Gale, we always get linked with him, but I'm genuinely serious. I think when that ball's being played down the flanks to people like Robinson, Grant, Grady Dean Garner, they look up and they see in the box. If they see Dwight Gale shifting around, causing problems for defenders, it's only going to create more space for other people to get involved. I think Dwight Gale, when we're playing some quite cute and intricate stuff, when we play into the front three, I think Dwight Gale's got to be the man. I think Mowatt's a very good ball winner and ball distributor, and I think Dwight Gale would be perfect in this system. I think he'd be perfect. I think I'll get your comments in about that if you're on YouTube in the comments below. But I think Dwight Gale would be perfect for that system. I know it's not perhaps a big playing to feet striker. We've got one of those on the bench in Ken Zahor, who is strong and fast. Whether you like it or not, he may not be the goal scorer, he may not be the most hard worker, but he can hold the ball up if you need a differential on the bench, a differential striker option. But I think Dwight Gale's the man. I think he's proven in the Championship. I think he's got the movement in the box. When we get into those phases, I think he's perfect. But that's the end of my thoughts. That's my thoughts. I'm very pleased with the performance, and I think it can a point is okay to start against a very good side in Bournemouth. But I think in terms of moving forward, I think we do need to try and convert chances a bit more, try and get more, try and create a few more chances, a few more clear-cut ones. Anyway, let's get straight on to some opposition reaction now. We're going to go over to Bournemouth YouTube channel, Cherries Red Army, and Kirk Tovey has sent us in a 5-minute video just to talk about his thoughts on the match. So let's get those thoughts from the opposition. Of course, if you want to check out Cherries Red Army's YouTube channel, make sure you go and check that out. The link will be in the description. But yeah, over to you, Kirk.
Kirk Tovey from Cherries Red Army, the AFC Bournemouth fan channel on YouTube, and my thoughts on AFC Bournemouth 2, West Brom 2. Before the game, if you'd have given me a draw, I'd have bit your hand off. West Brom will be one of the favourites to do well this season. I think they could go up automatically. 100%, I'm confident they'll make the playoffs. Now, when lineups were released, it pretty was as expected for AFC Bournemouth, a very youthful lineup because we've got injuries, players with interest coming in and suspensions. The big question was Mepham going to start ahead of Travers, our young goalkeeper, or Ibsen Rossi, one of our young players, centre-backs, who's done well in pre-season? Lloyd Kelly captained the team, and I think Scott Parker made the right decision to play Chris Mepham alongside him. Hasn't played since the Euros, and Chris Mepham needed a good performance off the back of his last game for AFC Bournemouth in the playoffs last season. Jordan Samora also came in at left back because of injuries, and he played behind Jayden Anthony, and again a very youthful left hand side. As the game developed, we were defending a corner inside the first 30 seconds, and you could see that West Brom this season are going to be a very physical team, nice and tall, a lot of strength in there. And when I was looking at the West Brom team before the game, there is goals in this side. You've got the likes of Carlon Grant, Diagana, who scored in pre-season, and then you've got Alex Mowat, a new signing for West Brom that is definitely going to pull the strings and make things happen with that left foot that he has. And he did have a good performance on the night. We took the lead through our new signing, Emiliano Marcondes, becoming a little fan favourite, interacting with the fans on social media, and was the last player to leave the pitch last night. So his first goal. Philip Billing got our second goal. to give us a 2-1 lead at the time. And when Phil Billing scores, we don't lose. He had a very good finish to the second half of the season, and he started this season in the same way. So really looking forward to that, because it looks like he's going to be pivotal to what Scott Parker achieves with this team this season. But we couldn't hold on. West Brom kept pulling, kept digging away, and eventually they did get that second goal through Callum Robinson. He was quite busy, and he did get a finish away to make it 2-2. And I think on reflection, it was an even result and a point for both teams, a point on the board. I'm sure both managers will be happy with that. A few mentions for AFC Bournemouth players then was Gavin Kilkenny. Again, another young player that showed a prospect for quite a few years now and are finally getting his chance. On the ball, marvellous, tries to break the lines, tries to get our attacking players into the game. Off the ball, needs to work on his strength. He's not a Lerma or a Pearson yet, but he did no harm to what he's delivering at the moment for AFC Bournemouth. David Brooks tried to make things happen, nearly gave us a 3-1 lead, but a great save from the West Brom keeper and going to be a key player for us. And Dom Solanke was trying to break the lines of that centre-backs that West Brom have. Had a chance again with his left foot in the second half, but a good save from the goalkeeper. So overall, AFC Bournemouth will need to bring players in. Our goalkeeper is a concern, was a concern before the game. Doesn't really command the box. Needs to go out on loan. We've said this for a few years now. Travers could be a good goalkeeper, but at the moment it's too soon if we're looking to do something really exceptional this year and head for the playoffs. I'm hoping Parker works on a new goalkeeper. We have tried to bring in Woodman. That's stalled. That might be back on if Newcastle's main goalkeepers come back into action. So we'll keep an eye on that. And then we might be a little bit light up top, especially if Danjuma leaves. So a new striker for me will be required. With Sam Surridge leaving, we literally only have Dom Solanke and Christian Sadie, who's only played 1 and a bit games. So there's room to bring in players. There's lots of potential. We had players injured, like Pearson, like Stacey, to come back, and we've got Lerma, currently still an AFC Bournemouth player, who is suspended for another 4 games. So all in all, a great point, a great start to the season. I'm sure both teams will be happy. Wish West Brom all the best, and we'll see you in the second game at the Hawthorns. But from AFC Bournemouth, we're very happy as we go into Forest away in the next game in the Championship.
So there we've heard Kirk's analysis of the game. Obviously a very entertaining clash in the Championship for both Bournemouth and West Brom fans. A real nail-biter. But we're going to go over to Twitter now, and we're going to go over and check out what you guys have been thinking about the game. Obviously, you guys have been getting your thoughts in and dropping your thoughts in the comments below on our Twitter. If you're not following our Twitter at the Baggies Pod already, I recommend you do so, because that's where I get all the thoughts from the fans from. And a bit of Instagram. There'll be a bit of Instagram in here as well. So if you want to go and follow us on those platforms, I highly recommend you do so. There'll be links in the description to get yourself involved in the podcast. So firstly, let's start with thoughts from Callum. Let's go. For our first match against a side who's going to be up there this season and away, and had to convert from big Sam ball and go into a new high pressing system with 3 at the back and wing backs, I was very impressed. We'll only get better and physically fitter as the season goes on, says Callum. So Callum's very impressed with the performance. So we got Frenchy WBA, who says, was a good game. We should have won, but we had the goal ruled out. I haven't even discussed the goal ruled out, have I? Yeah, well, we did have a goal rule. Thank you very much, Frenchy, for that, for reminding me about that. I think having the goal ruled out, I think that was a massive decision from the referee, and I think he got it completely wrong. Obviously, the ball went over the line. Callum Robinson tapped it in. But Mark Travers was coming out to flap at the ball from a corner. And he actually didn't get anywhere near the ball. He actually got blocked off by a couple of his own defenders. And the ball falls to Callum Robinson at the back post, who taps it in. And he gives a foul on the goalkeeper. I couldn't believe it. We were robbed in that sense. I think we should have had a goal. Yeah, I can't believe I've forgotten about that incident. I didn't even write it down in my notes. But yeah, those are my thoughts. I think it should have been a goal. Mark Travers only got blocked off by his own defenders. Nobody was really hassling him. Nobody was pushing or anything like that. I think it was ridiculous to rule that goal out. But yeah, French says, that we should have won with the goal ruled out. Ben Southall says, not too bad. Some standouts, really like the style. Need a bit more on the ball and we will be sorted. So that's from Ben there. Tom says, I've not seen anything to be excited about. Well, yeah, I can see how the game could be perceived that way. I think, obviously, the style of play is very forceful and it's not particularly controlling of the game. So it may be something that you look at the style of play and you think, oh, well, we're not controlling the game, so we're obviously not the better side. But I think we were much more forceful than Bournemouth. And I think we are providing a physicality factor that nobody can match in this league. Not many teams will be able to match in this league. So I personally was pleased, but Tom says he's not seen anything to be excited about. And each to their own. Fair enough. You're well within your rights to think about that. Paul says, positive performance, all players with good spirit and commitment. He says that it was a good, spirited and committed performance, and defence shaky, but as last season, we will sustain an excess of goals without a possibility of a positionally strong guy. So Bartley says Bartley will struggle in this new formation. Ajayi and Clark should be preferred. So that's Paul's thoughts there. Arjun says, draw against a promotion rival, can't be sad about it. Dominated, would have been more comfortable with Clark for Kipre. Maybe starting Phillips would have been better. Regardless, good point. Build on it with a win against Luton. Boing, boing. There's thoughts from there. And then Adam says, we looked good and will only improve. Could have won it on another day. Very happy with the points against the promotion side. Bring on next Saturday. Can't wait to be back. Neither can I, Adam. Neither can I. I'm really looking forward to getting back to the Hawthorns. There'll be a match day vlog coming from that game on my first ever match day vlog. So if you see me out and about, feel free to come and say hi. I'll stick you in the video if you want. But yeah, I'll be out match day vlogging at the Hawthorns for the Luton game. Liam says, considering we're still gelling into the system and potentially have first 11 additions to come in the transfer market, this is really exciting. Footnote, the third kit isn't as nice as the photos look. I disagree with Liam about the home kit. I think definitely with the first 11 editions will improve. But I think the third kit, I thought it looked nicer on the players than it did in the pictures. I thought the pictures made it look disgusting. But I think when they're playing in it, I can't see the blue. So it just looks like a nice yellow and blue kit. Andy says, refreshing, vibrant ground. Our fans are live with passion, almost like a release. Mauer, team leader now, just brilliant. At 25, what a signing. Val has to be ecstatic as the desire of the team and the character to bounce back twice. An occasion so missed with an actual crowd. Wow. Yeah, it was fantastic to see the away stand in particular rocking. I thought it was fantastic. I thought the away support, well done if you went to the Vitality last night. You were absolutely singing your hearts out and you were very, very loud. We could hear you from all angles of the Sky cameras. So well done to all Albion fans who made the journey down. You were incredible and you obviously showed that you'd really missed the football. Over to Sam, who says, really good, minus the 2 mistakes, maybe first game nerves. Going forward, we look purposeful and dangerous every time we get the ball. Intensity off the charts, excited for the season, says Sam. Lee Armstrong says, enjoyed the game. Mauer was very good, need a few things to work on and just need to add to the squad. A target man that could bag a few goals would be so good, says Lee. And then Jonathan says, very entertaining. It's going to be a good season. Can't wait to get back to the Hawthorns and the Baggies faithful. Get that striker in, though. Yeah, absolutely. So those are your thoughts over on Twitter. I'll just hop over to Instagram and read out your thoughts from Instagram. Obviously, we've got both of those social medias up and running now. So if you want to go and check either of those out, feel free to do so. There's plenty of content on there. So Jacob says, a good start to this season as an attacking team towards and could have bagged more goals, said Jacob. What striker do you think would be ideal for us after watching that, says Ruben? We haven't been linked with particularly anybody. So I've talked about Gale in this podcast. I think he'd be really good. I do think you've got a target man differential in Zahor on the bench, and I think he would work well. But Gale, I think, is your man. I think I'm not. This isn't me having an affiliation with Gale or really wanting to have Gale back at the Hawthorns, but I do think Gale would work really well in this system. If you're playing this tit-for-tat football up at the front three, I think Gale's perfect for his movement, his ability in that front three would be perfect. Talk Footy says, good point considering it was against a title rival and was also away. I think it was a good point in the end, I think, after the nail biting, but I think we should have, on balance of the game and how forceful we were with our attacks, I think we should have picked up more than a point. Joe Stevens says, not a bad game, could have gone either way. We need some squad additions still. Can't wait, says Joe. And then Dan says, didn't think we played well, but we were the better teams. Good signs, but why no Ajayi? Dan, your question remains to be answered, unfortunately. I haven't actually seen anything on Twitter. I Googled it before I started the podcast just to see whether we've had any confirmation of why he wasn't in the side. Maybe it was a knock, maybe it was an injury or something, but no, nothing on terms of Ajayi. So I would have started him, but obviously Valerian Ismail is the manager, and he thinks otherwise. But yeah, those are your thoughts on Twitter and Instagram. Make sure you get following on those to make sure that you don't get missed out on any of our episodes. Obviously, I include all your thoughts in every match day reaction video. That brings us to the end of the Baggies podcast, though, for this match reaction episode for this week. And I'll see you again on Sunday night, I think, for Luton, for a match reaction with that. We've got another guest coming on for that, and hopefully a Luton channel as well for that too. So make sure you're subscribing, getting involved on that. If you're on YouTube, be sure to subscribe, because we're on to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. But that does bring me to the end of the Baggies podcast. Hope you've enjoyed it. Have a great week, and hope you enjoyed the game, Baggies fans, and stay safe. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.
The Baggies Podcast, giving you the latest news, views and opinions on all things Albion.